एक चीज है यार. आई थिंक दिस कम्स फ्रॉम माई लर्निंग फ्रॉम माई फादर. ही हैज बीन सेइंग दिस बचपन से ही कि अगर तुम कुछ गलत भी बोल दोगे तो सामने वाला तुम्हें फांसी पे नहीं लटका देगा.
Yeah.
एट मैक्स व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि कुछ लोग हंस लेंगे, बस उससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं होना है. कोई तुम्हें फांसी पे नहीं लटकाएगा. तो डर डर तो लगेगा यार. मतलब इवन टुडे आई फील वो एक थोड़ी सी टिकलिंग तो होती है, तुम जाके बोलोगे उससे पहले, राइट? बट इट इज टू नॉट थिंक ऑफ कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस, बट टू थिंक ऑफ दैट प्रोसेस, राइट? कि मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ मैं क्यों बोल रहा हूँ, वॉट इज द वैल्यू दैट आई एम ट्राइंग टू क्रिएट.
Hello, folks. Welcome to the series named The Placement Guide, where we help students to know about the hiring processes of their dream companies and also to know about different career opportunities. Today, we have a very special guest amongst us whose name is Sandesh Dholakia. He is currently working as an analyst in Clinton Foundation and had earlier worked as a business analyst in Nomura Research. He had earlier got global top 10 rank in Global Harvard Case Competition and had also represented India at Commonwealth Youth Parliament. He has also won couple of national consulting case competitions conducted by World Bank, KPMG, EY, Flipkart, SRCC, and many others. He is also a founder of Case A Startup and had published newspaper articles on Economic Times and many others. This is really amazing profile, Sandesh. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and coming up to the show.
Thank you very much, Madhur, for your kind words. It means a lot. But first of all, before I go on to say anything, I want to congratulate you for starting this initiative. It is very important these days to have a structured approach after your college gets over. People don't usually know what to do, where to go, what approaches to take. And in such junctures, I believe such interactions with people who have had experiences will truly be beneficial to such people. So kudos to starting this initiative, and I hope you have a major success in this.
So before we proceed, do like and share this video. Also, don't forget to subscribe the channel for more such videos. Let's deep dive into your journey, Sandesh. How was your experience at Hansraj College and how did you develop interest towards consulting space?
So I think my journey at Hansraj was amazing, but let me take a step back and narrate the story from class 12th. In my class 12th, my aggregate percentage was somewhere around 95 percentage, and as you might be aware that at 95 you don't get anything. It's like either you get a 60 percentage or you get 99 or 98 of sorts, right? At 95 you don't get anything. Similar was my story as well. Wanted to do economics, coming from a general category, you don't get anything at 95. But I always had this intention of not getting disheartened from what has already happened and try to change as much as one could do. So at that time, I got to know about something called as extracurriculars activity quota. So people get quotas according to their caste, but it is also on merit that people get quotas. And it was at that time I got to know about this, and fortunately I applied through that, and I was among the top four in both the languages. In fact, I was the only student who was in the top five for English and Hindi debate categories. And I was fortunate enough to get a seat in the top college, Hansraj, because other colleges behind, apart from Hansraj, nobody offers ECA category in North Campus. So ranking wise, it was the best I could get. And it was at this point that I got to realize that yes, economics is something that I can do with a 95 percentage, and that too from a North Campus college, which usually has a cutoff as high as one might imagine. So that is how the journey started off. It was always overwhelming for me. I used to think, I am a 95% kid. People besides me are sitting at 98, 99% students. What do I do? Do I get overwhelmed? What do I do? But I always had the simple thinking, to be to try to achieve as much as you can, to be satisfied with what you are trying to do, and to make the best out of every moment that you are trying to spend. And it was through that time that I started off with my journey to land in college and start not just with my books, but also with things behind books and things that would add value to my curriculum. So it was that point I started doing case competitions. Naturally, I failed at most of the case competitions initially, and it is at this point that many people usually lose hope and they think these are not my cup of tea and I don't think I'll take it. But I thought, if it is one case is adding some value to my existing knowledge set, I should pursue it, with every case at least you get to know about something new, something different related to what you are learning, economics, public policy, finance, so on and so forth. So it was that point I started doing more competitions. The first one, the major first win I got was at SRCC conclave, and after that the journey has been tremendous. And it was through that journey that I developed this interest for consulting. I mean, circling back to the question that you had very at the very beginning of it. So that brought the interest, because problem solving as a skill has always been very overlooked, as far as I see in curriculum, because it is as if it nobody gives much importance to it. It's people just want to learn things, write answers, and get done with it. But what matters the most is that how do you solve problems in real life? How do you create that difference? Because everybody's learning books and writing exams. Maybe somebody will get a grade higher or lower than you. It hardly makes any difference. It's about that extra niche that you try to develop, and that actually brings out the interest that you have. And that is where, when I got this interest and I tried to venture into front end consulting, and now also my profile revolves around consulting.
That's a really amazing perspective to have. It would really be helpful to a lot of the students. So, can you tell what does Clinton Foundation do?
So, see, Clinton Foundation is basically a non-profit initiative, and the wing that I am currently working with is called Clinton Health Access Initiative. The idea is, let's say, if you see these days in any lower middle income countries and poor countries, is that they get a lot of funding to work upon social causes, health being a topic here. But it is usually the lesser efficient use of funds which brings out no results. It is more about strategic use of money, strategic use of directions, and proper resource allocation, with a view that where you want to go to, with a view that you want to create that difference, right? And that is where Clinton Foundation or Clinton Health Access Initiatives comes into play. It tries to it rather envisages to remove as many disease burdens as possible from countries like India and African countries, wherever where you find a lot of diseases. They work across communicable diseases, non-communicable diseases. They have worked across sexual reproduction, and health concerns, and so on and so forth. And in fact, in times of COVID, where you see there was a lot of funds available, but it was the strategic use of such funds which brings the immediate results that is missing, and where you need that managerial support, that site to bring in that change. And that is where Clinton Foundation comes into play.
And can you tell something about the shortlisting process? Like, how did you get
See,
this
shortlisting
role?
process is something which is very rigorous here at Clinton Foundation. It is usually people who have had experiences in fields of consulting or investment banking prior, who join in at analyst positions, because what they want, and inside you, as I was saying, the step zero is problem solving skills. So what consulting gives you in your early days is that idea of how do you solve problems. And that is why a company like Clinton Foundation looks out for people with experience in such fields. And the shortlisting process is similar. You have a 3 to 4 round of interviews. You start off with normal associate level interviews, head towards you are given a case study to solve. Once again, your case study is very important in any place where you go for. And then you have managerial interviews, and then at the end, country director level interviews. So that's a very rigorous process, but that ensures that the result that you are trying to bring at a country level change, you're trying to bring a massive change. If you see just the machinery in India, it's too overwhelming to bring a change, even if it is for one small disease. And that's the reason why they look for talent, which can and which has proven its merit in its past days. So that's the way it works.
Yeah, that's a really nice initiative taken by Clinton Foundation. There has been a lot of instances where a lot of people are suffering and lot of money mismanagement is happening. So can you tell how did you got the very prestigious off-campus job at Nomura Research and what was the shortlisting process there?
That is where your experiences start coming into picture. Are you a student who is somebody who is a part of the bigger crowd of students who are just revolving around and finding jobs? If yes, then off campus opportunity is not something that you can easily get for. But as I was talking about, college has been a tremendous experience for me. Not just from case competitions, we had also established IFSA, which is International Finance Student Association, to bridge the gap between corporate and student life at that point. So the starting point was that only. We used to interact with a lot of people from industry, from consulting, investment banking, public policy, etc. So even before college ended, I had private personal connections with almost partners at every big firm that I wanted to land a job into. So, see, I'll be very honest. Networking during college days is very, very easy. People are very helpful towards what you want to do. But remember, if you directly reach out to someone for a job, nobody is going to reply back to you. Why will they do? Because there's no incentive for his or on his or her side, right? But when you reach out for some help, for a manner of help that you want to develop your skills, you want to get to at least know what is happening in the industry that you want to enter into, it is at that point of time that people are going to be very helpful. So instead of asking around for jobs, I went asking around for experience. I went asking around for what do I do to even make into that industry. And that is where I landed a lot of interaction opportunities with a lot of partner level people and high senior level management people across consulting firms. And Nomura was one of them, where we had interactions with one of the directors at Nomura during my college days. And fortunately, the interaction appealed him also, and I got the opportunity to go through the recruitment process. But once again, the recruitment process is not important here. The thing to focus on is how do you utilize time before you go for a recruitment process, and that is more important in off-campus opportunities.
So how was your typical day looked like at Nomura?
Very challenging, very I used to have a very steep learning curve, to say so. I mean, see, the reason why consulting is very important in your early days is that it gives you that idea of solving problems in any field that one might throw on you. So in just a span of few months, in a span of a year or something like that, I had worked across 6 or 7 sectors, across many projects. So see, that is the beauty of consulting. You are not just working on any one sort of problem. You are working on problems which are diverse, which have different needs. What it does is that it prepares you for unexpected challenges. It prepares you for what you have not seen ever and how do you solve it. And that's the beauty of consulting, and that is what I experienced a lot at Nomura. And in fact, that helps in building your ideas, solid ideas about how do you solve problems at a later period of time at more specialized manner.
And what was your greatest learning experience during your work time at Nomura?
I think there is no single greatest experience to say so. The better answer to say so would be the networking, once again, which I made at Nomura, have been not just interactions or experiences for a span of a year or something like that. People at Nomura are still always in touch with me, and whenever, see, organizations become great not just because they do great work, it is also because there are good people in them. And that good people is the most important part which you should look for when you are joining any place. Be if even if you have a higher pay at some place and you see not good people, it's a big no-no for, at least according to me. And in that case, I think culture was the strongest aspect of Nomura, which I have learned. To know about Japanese culture is like so overwhelming for me. I mean, the manner in which they operate, the punctuality, the way in that the efficiency in the overall process is so streamlined that you are in awe of how do they operate. There is no minutes delay in what is happening. People will sacrifice whatever they are doing to worship their work in the literal sense, and that sort of makes you feel that if people at such greater level of management can do so, then who are you, and why should you not put your best to solve the problem that you are working on? And I think that's the greatest learning that I have had from Nomura.
Can you explain in beginner's language what are case competitions and guesstimates?
Okay, yeah, nice question, Madhur. I think this is very important. What normally freshers or not, just beginner level people think of case competitions is that they are just going to go and find a solution to whatever problem exists. But what is more important in a case study to say so is not solutions or finding solutions. It is more about breaking down the problems in a manner that you can find right solutions. See, these days, or even in general sense, no problem is so straightforward that one solution is going to impact, at least in real world. There are interdependencies in every aspect. If it is an economics problem, there are going to be aspects of psychology, sociology, business, trade, commerce, everything that you might think of, politics, socio-economic status, and whatnot, right? So it's more about
Hmm.
bringing that structured perspective to think, okay, if I want to solve this problem, what are the ways in which I can break down this problem first of all, that it becomes solvable, and then you think of solutions. So that is the more critical part in case competitions rather than finding solutions to problems. I think that's the bigger learning that I have had during my later days of solving. And guesstimates in that sense are nothing but an idea. See, guesstimates are very useful for you to understand how can you find answers to absurd questions, right? If I ask you how many cars are currently there in city like Delhi or Mumbai, it hardly makes any difference. Neither will I know the answer nor will you. But it is more about, let's say, absurd questions, but how do I land and how do I find the approach to finding an answer to that? It is more about that right approach building rather than the solution seeking part. So guesstimates will prepare you for finding answers to questions which are not very straightforward, but which uses the ability of you to think and come to a conclusion that makes you able to build a perspective of any problem. So let's say, if I want to enter into, let's say, if I am an American automobile company trying to enter into Delhi into luxurious segment, if I ask you how many luxurious cars are there, you don't know the exact numbers, right? It is only government authorities who will know. But this exercise gives you that idea of feasibility, that what is it that it actually has, not the right number but the right approach, and that gives you the uh, gut feeling to whether go for it or not. So that's a very small naive example that becomes much rigorous in various cases that you try to solve.
Yeah, like the approach is far more important than getting the accurate answer. So, can you tell what are the different types of interview questions asked by consulting companies?
There are no specific types of questions, Madhur. It's more about your experiences. It's more about what you have done and what you have put in your CV. There are no standard questions, but there are questions which are important in current context. Meaning, wherever and whenever you are giving that interview, what is happening around you is something that you should be aware of. Because, see, consulting is a very dynamic business, right? Whatever happens today can impact businesses at a large scale. What consultants do is give them the right way of going through this wave properly and finding a better way to land after the wave has completed, right? Wave being any business uncertainty. So a consultant should be aware of what is happening in a global macroeconomic sense. major financial trends, or those things which sort of impacts businesses in manners that one can think of. So those are standard questions, and CV related questions are more important. If you have just mentioned an experience for the sake of it, they are going to catch hold of it. So you should be very thorough in terms of what you are mentioning, what are your interests, because believe me, those who are taking such interviews on the other side, they have seen plenty of people like you and me, right? And they know how to find the right person. So it's better to be genuine than to try to make up things. I think that's the most important part.
So, can you tell something about your great experience at Global Harvard Case Competition?
Yeah, amazing days. So yeah, I think that was one of the peak points in my case solving journey, to say so. The one which started from, what do I say, intra college level to inter college to national to then international. It was one of that peak journeys. I think this is not just a competition, it was altogether a journey that we were on a case solving mission for almost 1.5 months or some. I am sorry, I might be wrong in terms of days, but yes, the entire exercise is too long for you to be very thorough in terms of what you are trying to solve. And in case competitions, what is even more important is the type of people you are working with, because case competitions is not just an individualistic activity that you can go and conquer. It is more about bringing team solution, team efforts to play. So I have had the pleasure of finding friends who were supportive, curious, and also very intelligent enough to go and also assist in the solution finding. So I think that is also even more important. In terms of experience, you get to learn a lot. We had made, I mean, that's the standard practice in Harvard case competition. You need to make 100 slide solution. So you can just think of the amount of information that you need to first of all go through to make 100 slide presentation. It is at least 20, 30 times more than what you are putting on there, right? So that just gives you the idea of the amount of depth that you have to go through for any problem that you are trying to solve. So I think that was the more important part.
And what are some of the skills that you think were helpful to you to reach to the world finals in this competition?
Just one thing, I think it's perseverance, because no other skill is going to help. See, once you are at such a level, anyone you are competing against are pro at what they are doing, right? So it is then just about how consistent are you on what are you trying to do, how disciplined are you in what are you trying to make. After a point, you will find the creamiest of the cream in certain positions, right? And then there is not much differences in where you are standing. It is just that polishing efforts, if I may say so, that brings out the difference. So skills, see, the primary skills are different, right? That is what you keep gaining through your college days, but in such international competition, it's more about softer skill aspects that I was referring to: perseverance, consistency, discipline. It might look very buzzing in terms of words that I am throwing, but I think that's the most important part.
And can you share about your Commonwealth Youth Parliament experience?
Yeah, one of the another superb experiences that I had. So what basically happens is that Delhi Youth Parliament is something which was organized for the first time when I was in my second year. This was organized by Delhi Legislative Assembly. It was the very first time um, that students were allowed to go inside the legislative assembly, the real legislative assembly, to give speeches from where chief minister and all the ministers sit, MLAs sit. That was the starting point of my journey. I was selected from my college to go there, and the best speakers from there, in fact, I got elected as finance minister in that Delhi Legislative Assembly's youth parliament. And the best speakers from there were then chosen to represent the country at Commonwealth Youth Parliament, which is organized by Commonwealth Secretariat and Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. So The idea is, I mean, the experiences are so immense because see, once you have been just interacting with people like you, it is very you don't get to learn so many new things at once, right? But once you are at an international position and you have different people from different countries all over the globe, each one of them bringing so different and unique ideas about things which it matter the most, at least for youth, like empowerment of girls, social issues like how do you weather improvement, climate change crises, employment issues, any other type of issues which impacts the youth at a large scale. The perspectives themselves are too what do you say, very steep in learning. Every one of them are coming from different stratas, different countries. So I think that was a very rich experience in that aspect. And I think that's the crux of the journey at Commonwealth Youth Parliament.
Yeah, that would have been really an amazing learning experience interacting with so many people from so many different regions.